Tonight at 9, a Joplin man is sentenced to prison for arson, plus advantages and disadvantages of employers in providing childcare to employees. And new regulation expands Kansas childcare options across the state.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I am Amber Jenkins. A judge sentenced a Joplin man to prison for arson. Ronald Deloney pleaded guilty to second-degree arson. Authorities say last November, Deloney lit a piece of paper on fire and threw it near a house on West 3rd Street in Joplin, setting it on fire. Deloney is sentenced to 5 years in prison and 5 years of supervised probation. Tonight, we wrap up our series on the Child Care Challenge in Southwest Missouri. KOAM Jalen Banks looks at the advantages of employers providing child care for children of employees.
Child care in Southwest Missouri is already hard to come by. What's even more rare is child care being provided by your employer. Freeman Health System is Joplin's largest employer with over 3,000 employees. And with the Freeman Learning Center, they're able to provide child care to their employees.
I feel extremely fortunate to work for an employer that provides a child care program. With that, I'm able to go to work and really focus on what needs to be done, knowing that my child is cared for by the absolute best right here on campus.
The organization finds ways around the unpredictable schedules of healthcare workers.
We do a weekly rate and a daily rate because our nurses and doctors, their schedules can be 12-hour shifts. They could be three 12 hours or whatever the case may be. So we try to accommodate all the parents that we can.
Freeman says that the child care option has helped in hiring and retaining nurses especially. MSSU, another large employer for the area, does not provide child care for their employees, but still aids them.
A more flexible schedule, either during the week or with hours during the day, and also just being supportive of parents who are taking care of children.
Slavings is a mother of 2 and says it would have been hard without the support.
That would have been extremely difficult, especially. And so having an employer who is very understanding and listens to the needs of their employees and the employees' families was so beneficial to us specifically.
In Joplin, Jalen Banks, KOAM News.
The Alliance of Southwest Missouri will host a panel with professionals discussing childcare within Southwest Missouri tomorrow. That will be Joplin Advanced Training and Technology Building from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Governor Laura Kelly and the Kansas Department of Health and Environment announced a proposed changes to child care regulations that could expand care options across the state. This will help Southeast Kansas, where conversations are already underway on how to improve access. KOAM Sagun Bamadeli has more.
As the calls for accessible and affordable child care continues, Kansas Governor Laura Kelly announced proposed changes to child care regulations. The suggested changes will allow licensed home providers increase the number of children they care for if certain safety conditions are met.
I think it's wonderful that the government is trying to increase the number of slots of child care and improve it. That Crawford County in particular really needs some more child care slots to be available.
Hoffman works at Pittsburgh Community Child Care Learning Center. She says daycare benefits children socially.
Gives the children a chance to interact socially, learn appropriate ways to interact with their friends, and learn and follow directions from a person other than their parents, and just prepare them for school.
She tells me expansion could make childcare more affordable.
People are having a hard time making ends meet, so I think that'll be good if it's more affordable and more available. So, because some families are having a hard time finding a job because they don't have childcare.
One Crawford County mother says she couldn't find childcare for her son for a year and a half.
There was just none available in Pittsburgh, so I worked night shift, my husband worked day shift, and we kind of just switched back and forth to make sure that our kids had what they needed.
In Crawford, Shagun Bamdele, KOAM News.
An informal meeting for licensed home providers will be held on an online-only format on October 24th from 6 to 7 p.m. You can find out more on how to join that meeting on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Kansas Senator Jerry Moran today announced a federal grant to increase cancer screenings for Southeast Kansas residents. A $500,000 grant is a part of a partnership between the University of Kansas Cancer Center and Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas. Increasing cancer screenings is a big step for smaller cities such as Pittsburgh.
We had to tell a good story. Unfortunately, Southeast Kansas story of cancer is not a good one. We die younger. Our cancer is detected later, and so our chances of survival are not as good as if you live in the big city.
The announcement was made at the Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas. Buckle up, phone down. That's the message for our Missouri Department of Transportation is sending to drivers. The Joplin Police Department, along with Joplin Schools, is teaming up with MoDOT to keep drivers safe on the road. This Friday is the official Buckle Up, Phone Down campaign day, but JPD says they are always on the lookout for drivers who are not buckled up and or who are texting while driving.
I feel like texting and driving is a major issue right now in our society, so I think it's very important that they're bringing awareness to it.
According to MoDOT, buckling your seatbelt and putting your cell phone down are two of the most impactful actions a person can take to be safe while driving. KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time to honor another Ford State hero. Lee Manley Jr. of Jasper, Missouri, Sergeant Manley served in the Army stationed in South Korea from 1951 to 1954. Manley was an expert with rifles, bazookas, and more. To Sergeant Lee Manley Jr., we thank you, our Ford State hero. Doug is next with a complete look at the forecast. And later, the Fort Nat Raiders to earn a district championship on Friday against Galena. We'll hear from the Raiders in sports.
Well, it turned out to be a decent day for us today. Very cold start, record lows across the region, but at least we climbed into the upper 50s during the afternoon, and we have plenty of sunshine. Nice shot right now, Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, of course, Indigo, just outside of Seneca, Missouri. All right, look at the past 36 hours. Yesterday, we couldn't get out of the 40s, and then we dropped near 20 during the morning hours. Better today, mid to upper 50s, but we should still be topping out near 70 for this time of the year. Look at the lows. We had upper teens to near 20. Early this morning, we did get into the mid to upper 50s, which isn't bad, near 60 in our western counties. Now we're dropping back, 38 in Stockton, 41 in Anderson, 41 in Pittsburgh. We have 44 in Chanute, Veneta at 42, Miami sitting at 43. So it is chilly. We'll drop back upper 30s again later on tonight, but the brunt of the colder air is pushing off toward the east. That means we are going to get a warming trend as we go through the next several days. Still cold tonight, 45 right now, south wind, which will help our temperatures warm up at about 5, humidity at 34%. As we go through the rest of the night, 43 here at 11, 7 a.m., 41, and then by 10 into the lower 50s. Overnight low tonight of 37 degrees. And we have had some clouds kind of scooting through over the past couple hours. We're going to clear out for the rest of the night. You can see nothing going on across Central Plains, nothing going on out to the west. This is our weather over the next few days. Pretty calm. We are going to warm up, but pretty calm until we get some rain chances early next week. By 7 a.m., 38, 63 by noon, 71 by 5. High temp, nice day, right around 72 degrees. So let's step through time. We'll go into the overnight hours tonight here shortly. We still have a few clouds rotating through. By morning, most of us are sitting upper 30s. Quick warm up. You can see the southwesterly winds near 60 by noon. And then during the afternoon, pretty good day. 71 in Neosho, 72 in Lamar, 73 in Welch. Parsons about 76 by tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow night, not as chilly. We drop back into the upper 40s. As we go through the daytime hours on Friday, a few clouds, partly sunny skies, but we push 80 by the time we head into Friday afternoon. We hold near 80 all the way into the weekend. Saturday looks great. Sunday near 80, but then chances for showers and thunderstorms get going. So this is late Sunday night into Monday, scattered showers and thunderstorms across the region, something we definitely need. 72 tomorrow, 80 on Friday, 80 on Saturday, 81 Sunday. Thunderstorm chances on Monday, and then we cool back down behind it. 62 on Tuesday, 57 on Wednesday, and then additional chances for rain next Friday. But overall, the next few days look pretty good. Amber?
Thank you, Doug. According to the USDA, nearly 60% of all U.S. citrus is grown in Florida. The bad news, many of those orange and grapefruit groves were devastated by Hurricane Ian last month. And while the Sunshine State pushes forward with recovery efforts, farming experts and citrus say other agricultural industries in Florida won't be as lucky. Fox News' Sean Lenigdelli has more on the latest.
More bad news for consumers. Already steep grocery prices could continue rising.
This is a gut punch. There's no doubt about it.
A new report from the University of Florida projects the catastrophic storm damage from Hurricane Ian could cost upwards of $1.56 billion worth of losses for the citrus, vegetable, and cattle industries in the Sunshine State.
This is the kind of event that will push growers out.
The blow dealt to farmers, resulting in fewer salvageable crops and delays in production, meaning fewer products like fresh oranges, melons, grapefruits, and juices are expected to wind up on store shelves nationwide, driving up costs.
At least 40% of our crop is on the ground and unusable and unmarketable. We're looking at maybe a 10% tree loss.
Hurricane Ian made landfall last month on Florida's southwest coast as a Category 4 storm. The storm then made its way through the center of the state, damaging roughly 5 million acres of farm and grazing land.
It takes 5 years for a freshly planted tree to produce enough quality fruit that you can measure it and count it.
And farmers were already trying to dig their way out from last year's disastrous harvest, where frost and disease ravaged many crops. Meanwhile, some of the citrus trees still standing could die in the coming months. Ian's intense rainfall dumped between 12 and 20 inches in many areas, oversaturating the ground and causing tree roots to slowly rot. Sean Lanchel, Fox News.
Coming up, trying to keep gas prices from going back up.
President Biden announces a plan to help lower gas prices. I'm Mather Rivera in Washington with why some Republicans are questioning his timing. Coming up.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says recent Russian air strikes destroyed about a third of his country's power facilities, cutting access to electricity and water for many. The White House says that it will continue its support for the Ukrainian people and has slammed reports that Iran may be planning to provide Russia with surface-to-air missiles. With less than 3 weeks until the midterm elections, President Biden today announced that his latest plan to lower the cost of gasoline. While gas prices dropped over the summer, the national average still remains nearly 50 cents higher than a year ago. Fox Madeline Rivera is in Washington with the latest.
It's not politically motivated at all.
As Election Day quickly approaches, President Biden is dismissing criticism that his latest move to release 15 million barrels of oil from the nation's strategic petroleum reserve is meant to sway voters. But polls show gas prices and inflation are likely to be top of mind for Americans. And while the average cost for a gallon of gas has dropped from its peak over the summer, the president says
they're not falling fast enough.
The release completes the 180 million barrel drawdown the president authorized in the spring, sending the nation's emergency stockpile to its lowest level since 1984.
He's playing politics with this national security asset that we have that's really developed really for a time of war that we need the energy. This is very dangerous. It's a dangerous policy.
With 400 million barrels left, the Biden administration argues the country's strategic reserve remains the largest in the world. And the president says he is committed to replenishing the supply once the price of crude oil falls to around $70 per barrel.
That means oil companies can invest to ramp up production.
The move is an about-face for the president, who has pledged to pivot from fossil fuels. Still, he maintains he's not turning his back on that commitment.
Our country needs to pass permitting reform to accelerate the development of clean energy.
The president left open the possibility of releasing even more oil reserves in the winter. In Washington, Mather Rivera, Fox News.
Still ahead, why you should be saving money come tax time.
The IRS is making tax adjustments for inflation, and it could mean you get to keep more of your income. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington with a look at the numbers and what it means for you coming up.
Netflix apparently has a new plan in place to crack down on password sharing starting next year. For those who want to continue to share their account with family and friends, the extra member option allows users to create sub-accounts under the main accounts for an additional fee. No word on what that fee will be. The IRS adjusts tax brackets and the standard reductions each year to account for inflation. Normally, we don't notice it as much, but because of the persistently high inflation, the IRS announced that they are making dramatic changes for the 2023. As Fox News correspondent Laura Blanchard explains, it could mean more money in your wallet.
The IRS has announced for 2023, Americans will be able to keep just a bit more of their paycheck. They are hiking the standard deduction and raising tax bracket thresholds by around 7%. Brandon Arnold with the National Taxpayers Union says it's helpful, but still doesn't account for the 8.2% inflation rate being felt by Americans.
The biggest concern I have is that we're not doing enough here. 7% increase helps a lot, but a lot of people are still going to be clipped by higher taxes.
For example, assuming these scenarios use the standard deduction, a single taxpayer making $100,000 would pay almost $14,800 in 2022. But in 2023, they would keep just slightly more than $500 than the year before. If a married couple files jointly with an income of $200,000, they will save $1,015 in 2023.
Inflation hits working class Americans, lower income Americans the hardest. And what this is doing is helping to protect Americans from the impact of inflation in terms of their taxes.
However, some analysts say the move could do exactly the opposite of what the Federal Reserve is trying to accomplish as they continue to raise interest rates to cool inflation.
It'll help fuel demand because people will be paying less in taxes, have a little more money to spend.
It'll be a while before you notice the changes. It applies to 2023's taxes, and those aren't filed until 2024. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Up next, going to learn what makes this picture of the so-called pillars of creation so special. NASA's Webb telescope has captured a jaw-dropping image of the iconic pillars of creation. 6,500 light years away, this spectacular formation, where new stars are formed, was the first image by the Hubble telescope in 1995. The James Webb Space Telescope near-infrared camera captured the pillars of creation in a way they'd never been seen before. Although the arches and spirals look solid, they are actually semi-transparent clouds of gas and dust that are ever-changing. NASA hopes that studying the piers of creation, they'll have a better understanding on how stars are formed. Tonight's Powerball has crossed the $500 million mark. It's now estimated $508 million after no ticket match all 6 numbers on Monday's drawing. The cash value of Wednesday's jackpot is $256 million. The Powerball jackpot hasn't crossed the $500 million mark since January 5th. That's when tickets in Wisconsin and California split the $632.6 million jackpot. 30 minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. How a local organization is taking part in Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Plus, Pitt State hosts a job fair to connect students with potential employers. This month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. KOAM's Kara Wharton speaks with a Safe House Crisis Center in Pittsburgh about what they offer.
It's a time for us to come together and not only celebrate member victims, but also to work in our communities to raise awareness.
According to the Safe House Crisis Center, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men will experience domestic violence in their lifetime, whether it be mental, physical, verbal, or sexual.
When you're looking at domestic violence or defining domestic violence, it's all about having power and control over another individual, many times a loved one or a partner. And that really it's using different tactics to first gain power and control, and then continuing with tactics to then maintain it.
Safe House provides free advocates for men or women who are in need of someone to talk to, as well as a 24-hour hotline and text line.
They're in it because they want the end result to be a happy, someone in a safe, stable position, have that support. Even when someone leaves, when they come back and tell us, hey, thank you so much, like those advocates, that's what helps drive them to continue to do this job, just knowing that they've made a difference.
It's a time to give them that strength and support that they need, and just validate that their experience is real, and that they don't have to be silent about it or go through it alone.
The Safe House is partnered with Pitt State to help any students or staff on campus who may need their services. In Pittsburgh, Carrie Worthen, KOAM News.
If you need to speak with someone or want more information, you can visit our website at koamnewsnow.com. Students seeking jobs and internships turned out today for Pitt State Fall Career Fair. The fair was open to all students from all majors and classifications. It provides students a chance to network with employers and learn more about opportunities available in their fields of interest. The fair targets learning opportunities from summer employment at camps to internships and full-time professional positions.
So mostly we want students to be able to learn how to network, to talk with employers, to build that networking opportunities for themselves. We want them to be able to learn that a resume is important, and whenever you're connecting with these employers.
Hundreds of people attended the fair. Couples trying to get pregnant through fertility treatments may want to limit their alcohol intake. Researchers in China found out that the chance of becoming pregnant after fertility treatments decreased by 7% for women who had about 7 drinks a week or more. Men who drank that much reduced their partner's chance of having a baby by 9%. A study in the Journal of American Heart Association finds young men with higher body mass index have an increased risk of irregular heartbeat rate later in life. Researchers in Sweden also found that among those diagnosed with AFib in midlife, those with higher body mass indexes had at least double the risk of death, heart failure, and stroke. As a part of the 2-day meeting, a CDC advisory panel is holding 2 votes, laying out recommendations for COVID vaccinations for children. That includes measures to determine if COVID shots should be added to the requirement list for vaccines in order for kids to attend school. The anticipated vote is causing a firestorm among parents and medical experts. Fox correspondent Jonathan Sherry has more from Atlanta.
Changes could soon be coming to schools, vaccine requirements, and it all hinges on 2 votes by the CDC's independent vaccine advisors. In anticipation of the federal government ending COVID vaccine funding, Wednesday's measure examined concerns over shots for poor and uninsured children once the funds run out. The panel voting for the so-called Vaccines for Children program to include COVID shots. The program allows the CDC to purchase and provide vaccines to those in need. Thursday, CDC advisors will vote on whether to recommend adding COVID shots to the agency's schedule of routine inoculations, meaning if approved, states would have the option to require students to get vaccinated to go to school, despite only having emergency approval for kids 12 and under.
Many people are not comfortable with this recommendation because the COVID vaccine in children was not based on data that it's clinically effective.
The measure getting pushback from parents and medical experts, with schools requiring some vaccines, such as measles and polio, but not others, like the flu shot.
It's not right. It's unethical to include COVID. We don't require the flu vaccine for children. Why would we require the COVID vaccine? It does not fit the category of our other traditional vaccines.
If Thursday's measure is adopted, states would have the authority to require COVID vaccination for school children, but Florida's Surgeon General tweeted, regardless of what the CDC decides, there will be no COVID mandates in his state. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
A bit later, luxury is going green.
A growing number of automakers aren't just making their cars greener. I'm Marianne Rafferty with a look at the hyper-luxury vehicles going electric. That's coming up.
Well, it turned out to be a decent day for us today. Very cold start, record lows across the region, but at least we climbed into the upper 50s during the afternoon, and we have plenty of sunshine. Nice shot right now. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, of course, Indigo, just outside of Seneca, Missouri. All right, look at the past 36 hours. Yesterday, we couldn't get out of the 40s, and then we dropped near 20 during the morning hours. Better today, mid to upper 50s, but we should still be topping out near 70 for this time of the year. Look at the lows. We had upper teens to near 20. Early this morning, we did get into the mid to upper 50s, which isn't bad, near 60 in our western counties. Now we're dropping back, 38 in Stockton, 41 in Anderson, 41 in Pittsburgh. We have 44 in Chanute, Veneta at 42, Miami sitting at 43. So it is chilly. We'll drop back upper 30s again later on tonight, but the brunt of the colder air is pushing off toward the east. That means we are going to get a warming trend as we go through the next several days. Still cold tonight, 45 right now, south wind, which will help our temperatures warm up at about 5, humidity at 34%. As we go through the rest of the night, 43 here at 11, 7 a.m., 41, and then by 10 into the lower 50s. Overnight low tonight of 37 degrees. And we have had some clouds kind of scooting through over the past couple hours. We're going to clear out for the rest of the night. You can see nothing going on across Central Plains, nothing going on out to the west. This is our weather over the next few days. Pretty calm. We are going to warm up, but pretty calm until we get some rain chances early next week. By 7 a.m., 38, 63 by noon, 71 by 5. High temp, nice day, right around 72 degrees. So let's step through time. We'll go into the overnight hours tonight here shortly. We still have a few clouds rotating through. By morning, most of us are sitting upper 30s. Quick warm up. You can see the southwesterly winds near 60 by noon. And then during the afternoon, pretty good day. 71 in Neosho, 72 in Lamar, 73 in Welch. Parsons about 76 by tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow night, not as chilly. We drop back into the upper 40s. As we go through the daytime hours on Friday, a few clouds, partly sunny skies, but we push 80 by the time we head into Friday afternoon. We hold near 80 all the way into the weekend. Saturday looks great. Sunday near 80, but then chances for showers and thunderstorms get going. So this is late Sunday night into Monday, scattered showers and thunderstorms across the region, something we definitely need. 72 tomorrow, 80 on Friday, 80 on Saturday, 81 Sunday. Thunderstorm chances on Monday, and then we cool back down behind it. 62 on Tuesday, 57 on Wednesday, and then additional chances for rain next Friday. But overall, the next few days look pretty good. Amber?
Thank you, Doug. An Iranian athlete who competed without a hijab returned to Tehran today. Her arrival comes as anti-government protests entered their 5th week. Fox News senior foreign affairs correspondent Amy Kellogg has more.
Hundreds of supporters gathered outside Tehran's airport on Wednesday, cheering for the return of an Iranian competitive climber. Elnaz Rikabi landed days after competing in South Korea without her country's mandatory headscarf. It's believed the 33-year-old athlete was expressing support for anti-government protests that have taken place in Iran and around the world. But in an interview shortly after landing, Rikabi says she did not intend to compete without a hijab.
I was unexpectedly called and had to compete. I was busy putting on my shoes and technical gear, and that caused me to forget.
After arriving in Tehran, it's not clear where Rikabi was taken, but supporters have expressed concern for her safety. Unconfirmed reports said she would be jailed upon her return.
We came back to Iran according to the plan. Until this moment, everything has been going on according to the plan.
Rikabi competed without a hijab on Sunday in Seoul during a sport climbing championship. The act prompted immediate support from demonstrators protesting the death of Mahsa Amini. The 22-year-old woman died in September after being detained by Iran's morality police over her clothing. The protests are believed to have caused more than 200 deaths and thousands of arrests.
Arresting people solely for exercising their rights of peaceful assembly and freedom of expression constitutes an arbitrary deprivation of liberty.
Iranian police claim that Amini died after suffering a heart attack in the police station. In Milan, Amy Kellogg, Fox News.
Coming up in sports, McDonald County softball team hits the field in the state quarterfinals. Plus, the Missouri Southern Lions prepare for a tough matchup with the Emporia State Hornets. Jacob Leonard has more in that.
The McDonald County Mustangs are still alive for a state championship this fall. The Mustangs hit the field this afternoon in the Class 4 state softball quarterfinals, facing the Kearney Bulldogs. Now, the winner of this one moves on to the Final Four next week in Springfield. That was a good one, but McDonald County falls 6-4. The Mustangs finish the season with a 23-10 overall record. The Missouri Southern Lions are 4-3 in the first 7 weeks of the season. Now, this Saturday, the Lions return home with a tough one, hosting the Emporia State Hornets. And Danny Terzer's in Joplin has more from the Lions on Saturday's game.
Tough task this week. The Emporia State offense is quite the handful. Quarterback Braden Gleason leads the league in passing yards. He's averaging 300 per game.
We got to get our offense going and getting them to sustain some drives, and that way keep them on the sideline, keep them on the benches, and then limit the amount of possessions they have. O-line and tight ends, we got to do a great job covering up the first two levels. When we do that, we know that Glades will make the third level miss, and there's not a lot of safeties in this league that can tackle him one-on-one. And so if we can get those guys covered up, we'll like what we see.
Nathan Glades has been a reliable weapon for the Lions all season long. Through 7 weeks, he has 4 games with over 100 yards. Saturday's game kicks off at 2 p.m. right here at Fred G. Hughes Stadium. In Joplin, Danny Terzer, KOAM Sports.
Emporia State narrowly leads the all-time series with Southern 24-22, but the Hornets have won 9 straight against the Lions heading into Saturday. At the high school level, we have a few local teams playing for district championships on Friday night. Frontenac Raiders have a chance to claim the 3A District 1 title at home against CNC rival Galena. Now, both of these teams 5-2 overall this season, and both are 3-0 in district play. Now, the Raiders have won 3 straight, including a comeback win over Parsons last Friday. Now, their last loss actually was a 35-0 home loss to Girard back in week 4, a loss that got the team's attention and was a turning point in their season.
After that Girard game, we all kind of had our heads down, just kind of disappointed in how we played that night. But we had a great week of practice against Columbus, and we try to start a whole new season 0-0. Ever since that, we played with a lot of confidence. We played more physical, played faster, and kids started to believe and started playing with each other.
That week after that game, we all stepped it up, everybody, special teams, defense, offense, and we just clicked. That's really what happened.
That's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
To help combat the climate crisis while offering customers a wider variety of vehicle options, more luxury automakers are launching their versions of high-end electronic cars. Fox News correspondent Marianne Rafferty takes a closer look.
A growing number of high-end auto brands are rolling out their new EVs, giving luxury cars an electric makeover. Rolls-Royce just unveiled their first fully electric model called the Spectre. It weighs nearly 3 tons but can go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 5 seconds.
One of our founders, Charles Rolls, made a prophecy, and that prophecy was that electric drive is a perfect fit because it's clean, it's noiseless.
Meantime, Cadillac is also revving up its engines, debuting the all-new Celestiq.
Now, as you will see firsthand, our flagship EV is a culmination of unparalleled refinement, advanced technology, and ultra-luxury design.
Officials say customers will work with Cadillac designers to personalize almost every part of their car's interior.
Celestiq will be handcrafted at our Global Tech Center that is near Detroit.
These cars come at a time when President Biden previously announced his goal for half of all new vehicles sold in the U.S. to be electric by 2030. And depending on where you live, you may notice more electric charging stations popping up. But even with federal funding available to build more chargers, the high electricity costs associated with running them are making some gas stations hesitant to build them at their locations. Speaking of high costs, the Rolls-Royce Spectre could run upwards of $400,000. The Cadillac Celestiq, meantime, starts at more than $300,000. Both models are expected to go into production next year. Marianne Rafferty, Fox News.
Coming up, we'll check out all the new movie releases this weekend in theaters and on streaming. From comic book inspired action to a star-studded occasion on the big screen and several more streaming options, here's a look at this week's new releases with Fox Ashley Dvorkin.
I was reborn a god.
It's a superpowered week at the movies as Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson debuts the DC Comics anti-hero Black Adam, with co-stars including Aldous Hodge and Pierce Brosnan.
Oh, come on. You've got to be kidding me.
Julia Roberts and George Clooney reunite for the rom-com Ticket to Paradise as a divorced couple who go to Bali to stop their daughter's wedding.
Let's just call it quits.
Colin Farrell and Brandon Gleeson lead the Banshees of Inisherin, about two lifelong friends on a remote Irish island at a crossroads in their friendship.
To all of us. To all of us. Cheers.
In theaters then, Prime Video November 4th is My Policeman, with Harry Styles, Emma Corrin, and David Dawson, about a closeted police officer in 1950s England, his wife, and the museum curator he falls for.
A lady had been set on fire behind our Speedway station.
In theaters then, Paramount Plus late November is The Fire That Took Her, a documentary about Judy Malinowski, who was set on fire by her abusive ex-boyfriend and became the first person to testify at their own murder trial.
It was your father's last wish that you dig his grave.
Streaming on Apple TV Plus is Raymond and Ray, with Ethan Hawke and Ewan McGregor as half-brothers whose estranged father's funeral becomes a chance for them to reinvent themselves.
We've been expecting you.
Netflix adds The School for Good and Evil, starring Charlize Theron and Kerry Washington, about best friends in an enchanted school for heroes and villains.
Come and get me.
And there's last week's box office topper. In theaters and on Peacock, the frightening franchise final Strode-Myers showdown Halloween ends. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
That's our time for tonight. Thank you for joining us. We'll leave you with a video of pandas at a Chinese zoo. Be safe. We're doing this all again tomorrow. See you then.